Okay, what's up? So we have some all new content in the Balanced Druid community. So if you've been living under a rock for the past, I don't know, I guess like 12 hours since I'm recording this, there has been a massive change to the Balanced Druid class tree, or the Balanced Druid spec tree, where we have brand new connections, brand new nodes, a lot of new everything. And so there's a lot of new icons that you're probably not familiar with if you look over here. And if you go to Wowhead and you look at their talent calculator, there is no new talent tree. However, I've spent approximately 2 hours and 30 minutes on Talent Tree Manager and made the talent tree. So that way we can look at it. I spent way too much time making this just for this YouTube video, but here we are. Basically how it went down is there's also... Let me see. Is it this? No, it's not this. Okay, so this is part of it. There were some spells that got changed in just generally from the Druid class tree. There were a couple things that by name got changed. And in addition to that, on Wowhead, they listed the data mined speculated Druid talent changes. I'm going to link all this stuff down in the description, including the Talent Tree Manager pastebin if you want to also look at that and poke around in it. But so the talents and there's a bunch of old tier sets, there's a bunch of old legendaries that got added in, but basically there were a couple of main points and highlights that were commented on by Frozo in this blue post. Umbral Embrace, dealing astral damage, has a chance to cause your Wrath and Starfire become astral and deal 50% increased damage. Wild Mushroom, grow a magical mushroom at a target enemy's location. After 2 seconds, the mushroom detonates, dealing nature damage and generating up to 20 astral power based on target's hit. I don't know exactly what that means. Like up to 20 astral power based on target's hit, but overall this is super cool. Denizens of the Dream, which is the tier 19 Hellfire Citadel bonus. Your Moonfire and Sunfire have a chance to summon a fairy dragon to assist you in battle. And Sundered Firmament. Every other eclipse creates a Fury of Elune at 25% effectiveness that follows your current target. So our most recent 2 set. In addition to that, your comments have been heard about Starfall. Everybody who's been bitching and complaining. Now Starfall is going to maintain at that mass AoE that it has been for Shadowlands, and it's going to maintain that identity. First impressions on this talent tree, super sick. It looks like an owl emoji. That was the first thing I noticed, is that it looks like an owl emoji. It's the only thing I could even see whenever I was looking at it. But overall, I think that this talent tree has a lot of positive things going for it. So let's go ahead and look at a lot of the talents that we have. So at the top, it's still Eclipse. These 3 nodes are still Shooting Stars, Warrior of Elune, and Starfall. Nothing really changing with these. The next nodes are Solstice, Umbral Intensity. Umbral Intensity is still the same thing. I actually think it got nerfed. So now it's Eclipse's damage, bonus damage to Wrath and Starfire starts out 10% stronger. So it should be a little bit worse. But now you see this Moonkin icon. It's Umbral Embrace, and dealing astral damage. It's what was listed in this post. This is Umbral Embrace. So it's like dealing astral damage has a chance to cause your next Wrath or Starfire to become astral damage. I think on AoE situations, especially with the amount of astral power that you're going to be generating now, this could be fairly strong, where you're going to have Starfires just become astral damage fairly regularly. And then in addition to that, it's going to be double dipping with your mastery. So with how our mastery got changed, you're dealing more damage. Ethereal Kindling. So basically this is the dot node that we previously had. Let me pull up the old calculator. This is the dot node that we previously had. This is improved Starfall. It just got renamed to Ethereal Kindling. And so it's 2 and 4 seconds duration increase on Moonfire and Sunfire whenever you use Starfall. Overall, I think that this node is probably a little bit strong. Like, you don't ever have to redot in AoE, but I'm down for it. It is just really good. And then something that's very interesting is Lunar Shrapnel on the right side. So if you didn't play in BFA, or you don't know anything about Lunar Shrapnel, it's a quadratic scaling node where Starfall deals an additional damage to nearby enemies whenever they're damaged by whenever they have Moonfire on them. And so this is going to require you to Moonfire a lot more, especially since Lunar Shrapnel is so early on in the tree. you already had to Moonfire a lot anyways with how our mastery worked, but this promotes Moonfiring even more. In addition to this gives us a little bit more stacked cleave damage just generally. And so I think that this node is very interesting. You're going to be playing this in most AoE situations, though. Okay, so next line. I don't know how many points this is going to give me. Hopefully it just gives me all the points so I can kind of continue to move on. It's Twin Moon Stellar Flare. This node got a lot worse. So it got a lot worse because of the Stellar Inspiration node. The Stellar Inspiration node got reworked pretty heavily. But I think that Twin Moons being here is really nice. Looking at the top of the tree, you see that we only have to spend 8 points at the beginning here. There's a lot of really cool shit, including Starfall, Ethereal Kindling, Lunar Shrapnel. In a lot of AoE situations, I don't know what you're going to be taking at the top of this tree. This is going to be something that we're going to have to run a lot of numbers on, because in addition to this Twin Moons Flare choice node, we also have Solar Beam and Treants. Obviously, Treants very good for M+. Lunar Shrapnel very good for M+. Both of the Starfall nodes really good for M+. Warrior Balloon great for M+. Warrior Balloon and Trees being at the top of this tree here, you get them a lot together in a lot of situations. I'm going to have to come up with a new keybind, because I use them both on the same keybind right now, so I'm going to have to come up with a new keybind. But I think that the top of our tree has a lot of very good stuff. This Twin Moon Stellar Flare node, I think just looking at the next branch, Stellar Inspiration got changed to now Star Search has a 10% chance to apply Stellar Flare. I don't know when you take Stellar Flare now. Obviously, this is going to come down to tuning, and I'm going to have to look at the numbers on how this works. But I think that just in general, it doesn't... I just don't know when you're going to be taking Flare whenever a node like Stellar Inspiration exists. Not that I'm complaining, because I don't love Flare. Like, I don't find Stellar Flare that fun, but I think that Stellar Inspiration is a really, really cool node. Orbit Breaker has been moved to right here. It also got nerfed. So I don't know where that nerf is going to be represented. Okay, so it got nerfed from every 15th shooting star to 20th, and now it calls down a full moon at 80% power. On AoE, if you haven't tested on beta at all, like the Orbit Breaker just in general was a little bit too strong. And so like the full moon was double dipping with the mastery because it deals astral damage, and it was doing a lot of damage just for a capstone trait. It's also like now a lot higher in the tree, so it makes sense that it's being nerfed to where it's not like capstone trait power. We already went over Stellar Inspiration. That's the Star Search has a 10% chance to apply Flare node. There's Light of the Sun. Light of the Sun and Solar Beam are now a lot easier to take. In addition to that, you may notice that we don't have Owlkin Frenzy in our tree anymore. I don't know where it went. Yeah, Owlkin Frenzy may just be gone. In addition to that, the only other notable node that is missing is Stellar Drift. Stellar Drift it seems like it's also been removed, which is, in my opinion, fine. So, but now Solar Beam and Light of the Sun are a lot easier to take. I don't know situations where you're going to take Light of the Sun just in general PvE content, but it is now in a position where it is more takeable. Nature's Balance now got changed to a 1-point node. I think it's going to still be that 2-point power, where you get 2 astral power, or 3 astral power every 2 seconds. I wrote the wrong number here. And then while you're out of combat, it rebalances to 50. So I think that Nature's Balance Nature's Balance is notably weird in this position, just looking at where it is. There are a lot of situations where you don't end up taking Nature's Balance, especially if you just end up messing around with this talent tree manager that I'm going to link down in the description. Like, there are a lot of situations where I could see you foregoing Nature's Balance, particularly whenever you're playing, because a lot of our single target stuff is on this left side here. And so particularly whenever you're foregoing a decent amount of the single target stuff, I could see you skipping over Nature's Balance. Now, it's a really good node, so I don't know how often you're going to skip over it, but there are some situations where it's a little bit more difficult to get than it was previously, at least, where it was like basically where Warrior Balloon is. They renamed Oneth's and Time-Worn Dreambiter to Starweaver and Rattle the Stars. With a lot of the stuff that's going to be changing, I don't know a situation. Also, in addition to that, like looking at where this node is, I just don't know when you would play Oneth's over Starweaver over Rattle the Stars. So just Star Surge and Starfall reducing the cost of themselves by up to 10%. stacking up to 2 times seems so powerful with some of the stuff that we're going to be showcasing in a little bit. But at the same point, I think that where this node is, it allows for you to be able to take it more easily, and it becomes basically a free choice on AoE and something that you actually really want. There's a lot of nodes that I'm going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, you really want this. I think that that's a very positive thing, and that's one of the main reasons I'm super happy with the tree just generally. But yeah, so Starweaver and the Rattle of the Stars is over here. Next, we have some Waning Twilight is a new node. It's whenever you have 3 periodic effects on your target, your damage and healing on them is increased by 4%, and it's a 2-point node, so you can get up to 8% on that. It's basically the Torghast power. So is it sexy? No. Is it a fine power for single target, especially whenever you're playing? If you are playing Stellar Flare, yeah, it seems pretty fine. I'm not overly upset with this node. I think that it makes a lot of sense. I like that they reworked and got rid of a decent amount of our really cringe conduits from this expansion, and they put in something like this. I think that this makes sense for single target. Now, this left side of the tree is just generally a single target safe haven, and so you're going to, and that's how it kind of feels. Like the right side is more AoE focused, left side is more single target focused, and so it makes sense that Waning Twilight is here, and you're going to have 3 periodic effects fairly regularly. Celestial Alignment, really easy to take. It has 3 parent nodes. I think it's actually going to maintain itself at this. You get both sides of Eclipse, and then you get 10% haste for 20 seconds, so it's gonna be like 15% damage, 10% haste. It's how do I want to say this? It's fine, I think, for Moonkin to be weaker on the weaker end, just in general for our cooldowns, just with how Moonkin is. And like, if you think about it for a second, you kind of want Balanced Druid CDs to be worse. So since they are such a long cooldown, since it's on a 3-minute CD, you would rather your sustained damage just be a lot higher, as opposed to being, because we've kind of seen how it works out. If your burst CDs on a 3-minute window are too strong, then you become incredibly polarized, where like Ravenous Frenzy in Season 2, for example, you become very polarizing to where like it just becomes an issue. So I think it makes more sense for Moonkin's cooldowns, while they are on a 3-minute CD, to be a little bit weaker, and then the sustained damage of the spec to be a little bit stronger. I'm also recording this live. Somebody redeemed me to wear this cowboy hat. So like, 1 second. Okay. I think just in general, though, Waning Twilight, as somebody pointed out, it would be very strange to get it through Orbit Breaker. Because like then at that point, like you can't ensure that you have Stellar Flare in any meaningful capacity. But I think it's fine. Like it's basically Blizzard telling you you should be forced to take either Stellar Inspiration or Stellar Flare to be able to get into this Waning Twilight node. I think this is fine. There are some nodes that just end up being mandatory. Anyways, now moving on, Star-Lord, it's still here. It's not the greatest talent I've ever played with. It is a talent. It's fine. Like, you get passive haste still. Are you super happy to take it? No. Are you really that upset about it? Meh. It's fine. It's a fine node. Okay, so on the left side, so first off, some of these nodes aren't going to be the correct icon. As you see right here, this is a completely different icon than what I picked. I just picked a random icon because not all the icons were in Talent Tree Manager. This is Astral Communion. So if you played Legion, you know what this is. But if you didn't play Legion, basically it's an on-use spell that just grants you 75 astral power instantly. That's all it does. I was surprised to see this come back, and I think that this is I think this is a pretty interesting node. I don't know how, like, what the most optimal usage of this thing is, and especially since it's gated behind Waning Twilight, like this node is going to be fairly difficult to utilize properly on AoE. One of these nodes is going to be difficult to utilize properly. It's like, are you actually going to take Astral Communion on AoE? If the answer is yes, then I don't know how you get value out of Waning Twilight, because like, where are you getting that third dot from? Because like on AoE you're taking Twin Moons. In the same vein, is this node going to be useful on single target? Absolutely. This 75 astral power just instantly is lit. It's great for PvP too. Super good for PvP. Nature's Grace. So this is a mop of talent. I didn't know anything about Nature's Grace. I had to be informed on this. So how it's after an eclipse ends, you gain 15% haste for 6 seconds. If you remember the last video I did, how I talked about in the blue post, they said that they were going to come up with a way to allow you to get back into eclipse faster. I think that this is their solution. So after eclipse ends, you gain 15% haste for 6 seconds. It's like fine. I love playing with more haste, and we have Starlord and Nature's Grace now. It's a way that you are able to get back into eclipse faster. Is it really like that impactful? Probably not, but at the same point, it is a lot of passive stats. I'm not thrashing for a third dot on AoE. That is not happening. All right, so we have a Syzygy Pulsar node here. This placement of it makes sense. I think that Syzygy is very cool. I've played with it a lot on beta, and I think that overall 10 out of 10 visuals. The damage on it's a little bit low, but I think that overall, and it kind of sucks that it's gated behind a 3-minute CD. That's the only complaint that I have about Syzygy, because I'd rather use it more often because it's so cool. Is it sick? Yeah. Is Pulsar sick? I also love Pulsar, just in general. Every 300 astral power spent grants celestial alignment for 12 seconds. This is one of these situations where I don't know if Pulsar is going to get nerfed. Like, Pulsar is really good at 300 astral power. We'll see. Because your uptime on celestial alignment just generally is going to be fairly strong with some of the stuff that we're going to see here. But I just don't know how you're going to get away from Pulsar on AoE in a lot of situations, just looking at some of the stuff that's going to come here in the tree. Soul of the Forest, it's the exact same as it was. It's not sexy. It's Soul of the Forest. It's fine. I think that it's actually going to be a lot worse than it is in current iteration Moonkin, because you're going to be starfiring a lot less. Like, there's just like a lot fewer globals to press on Starfire, since you're going to be dotting so much more frequently. I think you're still going to be taking it from M+, just because it's pretty well-rounded. But yeah, it's here. It's fine. Now here's Wild Mushroom, and we saw this displayed in this blue post, and I read about it. Basically, yeah, you grow a mushroom at the target location. After 2 seconds, the mushroom detonates, dealing 200% spell power damage and slowing all enemies by 50% in an 8-yard radius. I don't know how long that slow is going to last for. That's actually sick. I didn't realize that it was 50% slow on this thing. But yeah, I think that overall this kind of solves. So my previous complaints have been about astral power generation, and I've been targeting a lot of that at shooting stars. I think that now, just looking at the implementation of Wild Mushroom, I think it makes a lot more sense for shooting stars to be more single target focused, and like Wild Mushroom being more AoE focused. Yeah, it's a 3 charge, 30-second recharge point. And so yeah, it's 3 charge and 30-second recharge. The slow is not in the blue post. That's true. The slow is actually not in the blue post. I wonder if they're going to scrap that, because the slow was in the preview text on it on Wowhead. Whenever it got data mined as a spell, the slow was data mined, but it wasn't specifically listed in the blue post. So I wonder if they're going to remove that. That's something that we're going to have to see. I think overall, though, just the general design of Wild Mushroom is going to be cool. All right, so let me start taking points out of this, because clearly it doesn't let me go over 30 here. I didn't know what it was going to let me do. Okay. Let me make sure I have enough points for all this stuff here. Okay, cool. Let me start looking at all of this. So we have Circle of Life and Death. It remains, it's fine. Like, Circle of Life and Death is a node where, like, am I really ever happy to play it? Not really. It's in this single target section, though. It's pretty boring. But like, it's fine. I think that, like, redotting on AoE or redotting on single target with flare and whatnot is something that's okay. Like, it's your dots deal their damage in 25% less time. It's okay. We have Incarnation. Okay, this is actually probably the craziest part of the tree. I don't know how to untake this. Okay, here we go. We have the Incarnation Convoke choice node, which, it's not that crazy. They changed how Incarn works slightly to where you're able to take this without celestial alignment. but you lose the 10% haste if you don't take it. Okay, so just reading here, you lose the 10% haste if you take it without Celestial Alignment. You still get both Eclipses and the 10% critical strike chance, so you're able to actually take this without CA. The big point, okay, and then obviously Convoke is beneath it. The big point that is beneath this Incar node, and I know that I'm going a bit out of order here, is Elune Guidance. And so this is actually probably the biggest change of our whole entire tree. And it's so sick. I could not believe it whenever I read it. I was like, what the hell is this talent? Incarnation Chosen Elune reduces the astral power of cost by Star Surge by 10 and the astral power cost of Starfall by 15. And this is why I was talking about earlier where I thought that Pulsar was going to be mandatory. We're going to be stuck into running Pulsar again. That node is so sick. Like it is probably the best node in the tree. And whenever you stack Pulsar with Elune's Guidance, with Rattle the Stars, which is Time Worn Dreambinder, you are going to be able to get Pulsar procs fairly regularly, and you're going to have some really low cost Star Surges and Starfalls. It's going to be so sick for probably AoE, but in addition to that, I think it's going to be cool on single target. I do think that it kind of locks you into needing to run Pulsar in most situations and needing to run Incarn / Elune's Guidance in a lot of situations. So I wonder like what the spot is for you to run Convoke and Syzygy. I think that Convoke is probably going to end up being like a PvP spell still. I don't know where Syzygy is going to end up running. Let's go in the Capstone area on this left side of the tree because I think that makes more sense. Denizens of the Dream was the thing that was showcased with the fairy dragons. Their Capstone, Denizens of the Dream, is when a fairy dragon is summoned, your arcane and nature damage is increased by 6% for 30 seconds. This is the tier 18 Hellfire Citadel tier bonus, just repurposed. Just off the top of my head from memory, I'm pretty sure this was like a 12 to a 15% damage increase whenever it was current. So the Fey Guardians did a lot of damage. Again, it was only like realistically more of a single target thing because it would only target like one person. I don't know what it's going to be tuned like. This node in general comes down to tuning, but again, this is in the left side of the tree. This is a single target section. I think this is super cool. Now we have Sundered Firmament, which is the current 2 set, which every other eclipse creates a Fury of Lune at 25% effectiveness. This is a large amount of astral power generation, and just in general, our AP gen in the tree is it got so much better. I was down bad for a little while on our AP gen, and I think that there are a lot of nodes that have pretty significant astral power generation, including like Wild Mushroom. We have Sundered Firmament. We have Astral Communion. A lot of discounts as well in Elune's Guidance and Rattle the Stars and Oneth. We also have Shooting Stars and Solstice and Orb Breaker. So I think the amount of generation that has been resolved pretty rapidly. As a matter of fact, I do not have any complaints about the amount of astral power we are generating on AoE anymore. Now let's look at the right side of the tree. So overall, I think things are going great for us. I am so stoked about this tree. I didn't take enough points out of here. I'm so stoked about this tree, and I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff in it. Okay, so next, Goldrun. It's now a 1-point node. It makes a lot more sense where it's placed. It's no longer locked behind Solar Beam. Goldrun is like Star Surge has a 33% chance to summon a Spirit of Goldrun, which is that wolf thing, and it does damage to the target. It is arcane damage as well, notably not astral damage, so it's a little bit worse than it could potentially be, but I think that it's fine. Fungal Growth. Enemies struck by wild mushrooms are damaged for an additional 70% over 8 seconds and are slowed. I don't know what the slow is going to be. The slow is data mined at 0% right now, but now it means that wild mushrooms have a dot attached to them. Something that I didn't say earlier, by the way, the coefficient 200% spell power on wild mushrooms is what it's data mined at right now. That's an absolutely massive coefficient. That does a lot of damage. They are on a 30-second recharge and they stack up to 3, and so you're going to have to like pool them up in M+, but the coefficient and the damage that they're going to do is sick. And then I don't know where the slow is going to be attached to. I don't know what the slow percent is going to be. But giving Moonkin a fairly potent slow attached to something that we kind of use for damage is nice. I'm not going to complain. Yeah, so for comparison, Star Surge's spell power coefficient is 207%. So Wild Mushrooms being at 200% spell power means that they are going to do a lot of damage. Same with Goldrun. we have balance of all things. They used a different icon for balance of all things. It's this icon that's right here. But balance of all things is going to remain. It's going to be a 2-point node now. And it starts at 16% crit on Eclipse. And it gets bumped up to 32%. That's, in my mind, a massive amount of critical strike. I don't know why it's in the position that it is, like where it is on the tree. It's on the right side of the tree. But it is fine. Oh, yeah. Wild Mushroom, by the way, circling back. Hold on. I'll finish off this thing about balance of all things, and then I'll circle back to Wild Mushroom. I think it's fine. It's in a weird spot on this on the right side of the tree, but you end up putting points into both sides fairly regularly, and so I think that it makes sense where you're going to be like taking some nodes. You go Warrior Balloon into Umbral Embrace, into Trees, into Starlord, into Goldrons, into Balance of all things, and then you take a lot of the left side stuff as the top tier single target stuff, and you just kind of run that line. As for the Wild Mushroom thing, again, it's only nature damage, and so it's not going to double dip. It's not astral damage, so it is going to be a little bit worse than obviously Star Surge's spell power coefficient being 200%. But like, so you're going to want to be in Solar Eclipse whenever you're using the mushrooms as well. We have Moons, Fury Balloon choice node. I think that what they did to this node is kind of fixed. I think that there's a lot of people who criticized it being a capstone, said it's not powerful enough to be a capstone. I think that Fury Balloon's damage could come up a little bit. And I think that Moon, probably, I don't know. It's weird. There's a lot of people who criticize it for being capstone. I think it's a little bit more fine now. I think that it being a penultimate trait and then having the capstone that it has of Radiant Moonlight is the most important thing. So now, what Radiant Moonlight does is full moon becomes full moon once more before resetting the new moon. I think that they, off of memory, they fixed Radiant Moonlight, how it had that jank interaction where it would give you double full moon into double new moon, or like an extra recharge. Sorry, it was double full moon into an extra recharge instantly. I think that they fixed that interaction, so now you're only going to be getting 2 moons on this Radiant Moonlight trait. And then in addition to that, Fury of Loon's cooldown is reduced by 15 seconds whenever you take Fury of Loon. So I think that node makes it a solid penultimate / capstone option. I don't know when you take moons. It's a great question of like, when do you take moons? I could see you actually taking Balance of all things, Moon, Radiant Moonlight, and then taking some of the stuff on the left side of the tree. It's something that we're gonna have to like math out in the coming weeks and run some simulation craft sims on whenever we do get everything up and running in SimC and have everything. I'm excited to test this. I've been streaming a decent amount lately. I think that if you're watching this like the day it's released, I'm pretty sure that all of this talent stuff is coming into the tree next beta reset, so whenever that is, probably like next Wednesday, next Thursday, maybe next Tuesday, something like that. Yeah, overall, I'm so excited about this tree. I think that this tree has a lot of good stuff going for it. I'm very, very happy with how it turned out. Again, it looks like an owl emoji. I can't complain about the owl emoji. But yeah, I think that's gonna be it for me today. Again, check the description for all the stuff that I'm gonna be linking. It's gonna be the blue post. It's gonna be a couple of the beta build stuff, the spell diffs, and in addition to that, the uncategorized spells that have all the lists and the talent tree manager that I made. Oh, I forgot Stellar Innervation. This talent sucks. I don't understand this talent. During solar eclipse, Sunfire generates 100% additional astral power. During lunar eclipse, Moonfire generates 100% additional astral power. I don't understand this talent. I think it's like maybe, I don't know. It's the 3 astral power you generate, like whenever you press the button. Yeah, I don't know how it's captured. Anyways, all right, so I think that's gonna be it for the video today. I almost forgot that node. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Adios.